Imagine a machine, right? A machine built by the government to catch criminals. But what if this machine got it wrong almost every single time? What if it accused you, seized your money, and basically ruined your life all without a single human ever double-checking its work? Well, this isn't some sci-fi movie. This is the real story of Michigan's MiDAS system.
And for tens of thousands of people, this was the reality. You didn't get a letter from the state, you didn't get a phone call. No, you got a notice from the IRS saying your money was gone. Just like that. No warning, no explanation, just your life completely turned upside down by a decision you didn't even know a computer had made.
So that's the big question here. How on earth did a system that was designed to fight fraud end up creating this massive injustice? Okay, let's get into it. All right, so to really understand how this all went so incredibly wrong, we've got to start with the machine at the center of the whole mess, this system they called MiDAS.
You have to remember, this was back in 2013. States were still reeling from the Great Recession, and they were all under huge pressure to cut costs and be more efficient. So, Michigan's answer was technology. They poured $47 million into a new system, the Michigan Integrated Data Automated System, or MiDAS. And the goal was pretty simple: replace human investigators and automate the entire process of finding and punishing unemployment fraud.
Now, here's where the stage was really set for disaster. See, back in 2011, a new law let the state start seizing people's wages without even getting a judge's approval. Then, in October 2013, MiDAS goes live. At the exact same time, the state laid off pretty much its entire fraud detection team. So for 2 solid years, from 2013 to August 2015, the machine was in charge, completely, on its own. And when you look at how it worked, you can see just how broken this thing was from the start. First, MiDAS would flag any little mismatch between what you reported and what your boss reported. Could have been a simple typo, didn't matter. Then it shot off this confusing questionnaire to an old online account, an account most people hadn't touched in years. And get this, if you didn't see it and respond in just 10 days, or if you just picked a certain combination of answers, bam! The system automatically declared you guilty of fraud, and it would hit you with insane penalties, sometimes 4 times what you'd received in benefits, plus interest. And this is the absolute key to the whole thing. From that first little flag to the final guilty verdict and the life-altering penalty, the decision was made entirely by an algorithm. No human ever looked at the case. The machine was the investigator, the judge, and the jury.
So you can probably see where this is going. With a system like that, totally unchecked, what could possibly go wrong? Well, turns out, pretty much everything.
Just look at that number, 93%. A state audit later found that 93% of the fraud cases that MiDAS flagged were just flat out wrong. That means for every 100 people the machine accused of being a criminal, 93 of them were totally innocent. The system was failing almost every single time it made a decision. It's just staggering.
This chart really puts it into perspective, doesn't it? That tiny little sliver of blue, that's the few times the system actually got it right. The massive sea of red, well, that represents the tens of thousands of innocent people who got caught in the crossfire of some really, really bad code.
And we're not just talking about a data error here. This was a human catastrophe. Over 40,000 people were falsely accused. We know for a fact at least 11,000 families were forced into bankruptcy. People would get a new job, feel like they were back on their feet, and then suddenly a quarter of their paycheck would just vanish, garnished by the state. Their tax refunds were taken. They lost their homes. One woman even graduated from the police academy, only to fail the background check because MiDAS had falsely branded her a fraud. So yeah, the state's goal of saving money and being more efficient, it backfired in a huge way. Instead, they created a bureaucratic nightmare that completely destroyed lives, and in the end, cost the state millions upon millions of dollars trying to clean up the mess.
But this story doesn't end there, because the people who were wronged, they fought back. And it sparked this long, 7-year battle for justice and accountability.
And listen to how Jennifer Lord, one of the lead civil rights attorneys on the case, put it. For her, this wasn't some simple computer glitch. This was the state of Michigan, plain and simple, stealing money from its own people.
At the very heart of this legal fight was a really fundamental American idea, procedural due process. It's a right that's guaranteed by the Constitution, and it's actually pretty simple. All it means is that the government can't take your stuff, your property, your tax refund, your wages, without first giving you fair notice and a real chance to defend yourself.
And this is exactly where MiDAS broke the law.
The courts completely agreed that sending a notification to some dusty old online portal that nobody was checking did not count as meaningful notice. And because people didn't even know they were being accused, they never had a real chance for a hearing. Their property was taken from them in direct violation of their constitutional rights.
But man, it was a long road. The class action suits got filed back in 2017. It took all the way until 2022 for the Michigan Supreme Court to finally rule that, yes, people could sue the state for damages. And it was right after that ruling that the state announced a $20 million settlement to start trying to make things right.
So you might be thinking, okay, that's a crazy story, but why does a failed computer system from a decade ago matter so much today? Well, it matters because this isn't just a story about the past. It's a huge warning about our future.
The MiDAS scandal is now one of the most important, real-world cautionary tales we have. It shows us exactly what can happen when governments rush to use automated systems and AI without putting the proper rules, oversight, and, basic human rights protections in place first.
And you can literally draw a straight line from cases like this to what's happening today. The MiDAS scandal directly influenced the White House's blueprint for an AI Bill of Rights. And look at what it calls for. Telling you when an automated system is being used, and, this is the big one, the ability to opt out and talk to an actual human being. These are the exact protections the victims in Michigan never had.
I think attorney Jennifer Lord really hits the nail on the head here. Maybe the biggest lesson from all this is that there are just some jobs you shouldn't outsource to a machine. An algorithm can't understand context, it can't figure out intent, it can't tell if someone's telling the truth. Judging another human being, well, that requires human judgment.
And that leaves us with this final, really critical question. When a flawed algorithm ruins thousands of lives, who's ultimately to blame? The government that bought it? The officials who turned it on? The company that coded it? As we start to rely more and more on AI for these big decisions, that's a question we all are going to have to answer.